And y'all ain't got no f***ing evidence saying I did. Let me go. All you did is find me sitting in my buddy's house because my f***ing buddy's dog's going ape shit. I go outside. There are cops everywhere. And they spotlight me. They say, come here.
In 2011, Georgia witnessed a heist hilarity near a humble 7-Eleven. As local law enforcement, led by the ever-so-clueless Detective Clueless and his sidekick Officer Baffled, scrambled to solve an armed robbery, they stumbled upon Jeff Pearson. With a reputation as a heroin aficionado and a gun in hand, Jeff seemed like an easy catch. But little did our bewildered boys in blue know, they were about to dance to the tune of a suspect who'd outtweet them at every turn. Incident and arrest. On a seemingly mundane evening, the quiet around a local 7-Eleven was shattered by the sound of sirens. Reports of an armed robbery had the police, led by Detective Clueless and Officer Baffled, swarming the area like bees around a honeypot. They arrived with all the finesse of a bull in a china shop, expecting a straightforward case of catch the robber. But as they soon discovered, this was no ordinary night. As our dynamic duo of cluelessness scoured the area, they encountered a house nearby, buzzing with more commotion than a soap opera set. Bursting in with the subtlety of a marching band, they found Jeff Pearson. Jeff, known in certain circles as the heroin hobbyist, was calmly sitting there, with a gun casually lounging by his side. It was like finding a cat amidst a flock of pigeons suspicious, but not exactly caught in the act. Now, you'd think with a gun and a recent robbery, 2 + 2 would equal 4. But in this math, the equation was missing a few digits. You see, there was no direct evidence tying Jeff to the robbery. No stolen goods, no fingerprints, not even a crumb trail of snacks leading from the 7-Eleven to his hideout. It was like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing. Nonetheless, our intrepid officers, with the determination of a dog chasing its tail, decided to arrest Jeff. It was a classic case of guilty until proven innocent in their book of law enforcement. As they led Jeff away, little did they know, they were not escorting a defeated suspect to jail, but rather, unwittingly setting the stage for an extraordinary display of wits versus witlessness. In interrogation room, Detective Clueless and Officer Baffled sat across from Jeff Pearson, who looked more bored than a teenager in a museum.
Am I under arrest?
For now.
I'm under arrest?
Yeah, I'll explain everything, but before I explain myself to you, before we talk to each other, I need to read your rights, okay?
What am I under arrest for?
Well, like I said, I need to read your rights first. Obviously, the charge is robbery, okay?
The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, like the moment before a magician reveals his trick. But in this case, the trick was on the police. Jeff kicked off the interrogation with a question that threw our detective duo off their game. Am I under arrest? And on what grounds? It was like watching a chess player move his pawn to checkmate in the first move. Detective Clueless, with a confidence that was inversely proportional to his aptitude, began the usual dance of interrogation, expecting Jeff to waltz along. But Jeff was more into breakdancing. As Detective Clueless read out the Miranda rights with the enthusiasm of a man reading a phone book, Jeff's expression remained as unreadable as ancient hieroglyphs.
Rights remain silent. Anything you say can will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to talk to the lawyer for advice before we question you. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer and you want one, a lawyer will be provided for you. If you decide to answer questions now without a lawyer present, you'll still have the right to stop answering questions at any time. Does that make sense? You've probably heard these before, haven't you?
The detective, looking like he just unveiled a grand revelation, waited for a response. Jeff's silence, however, was as thick as the detective's confusion.
Yes or no? You understand?
We're getting paid more than you are, so we can sit here for a long time, man.
I just need you to answer me yes or no. Do you understand your rights? Let's get through that question. Do you understand what I read you? Did you comprehend what I read you? I'm not asking if you want to talk to me at this point. I just want to know, do you understand what I read to you?
So am I under arrest?
Yes, you're under arrest.
I'm getting back to the cell. I don't talk to you, motherfucker.
Okay, there you go.
Officer Baffled, not to be outdone in this comedy of errors, tried his hand at the good cop routine, offering Jeff a soda as if it were a golden ticket. But Jeff, unfazed, stuck to his guns, metaphorically speaking, of course.
You want a Coke?
Yeah.
You gonna be able to pop it open, or you need me to?
I need methadone.
You need methadone?
Yeah, you guys can get me that methadone.
I don't have any. Do you have medication for it, or a prescription for it? Or?
No.
What do you need methadone for?
Because I'm a fucking junkie, and you guys, I can't get no methadone. I'm gonna go through withdrawal here in a minute.
He exercised his right to silence with the skill of a monk in meditation, and his request for a lawyer was as clear as daylight in the Sahara. The detectives, scrambling like squirrels in a nut factory, attempted every trick in the book, but Jeff treated their techniques like annoying flies.
How long you been using heroin?
Long time, buddy.
10 years? 15 years?
I hardly been alive that long. What are you trying to talk to me about here?
Talk to you about what happened last night. Look, here's the deal. Either you're in a bad set of circumstances or you went and committed an armed robbery last night.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm in a shitty, wrong place at the wrong time, obviously. I didn't commit no fucking armed robbery.
All right, then let's talk about this. Let's
I don't
not
have
keep
nothing.
up
I
the
don't talk
act.
to the police, man.
Swatting them away with his silence and legal know-how. It was like watching a cat toy with a couple of bewildered mice. The more the detectives prodded, the more Jeff retreated into his fortress of silence.
I didn't commit no armed robbery, and y'all ain't got no fucking evidence saying I did. Let me go. All you did is find me sitting in my buddy's house because my fucking buddy's dog's going ape shit. I go outside, there are cops everywhere, and they spotlight me. They say, "Come here." I say, "What's up?" They search me. They ain't find
Hang on.
nothing. What's
Let
up?
me read this.
No.
Yes.
Because I'm not going to sign it.
You don't have to sign it. But let me read it for you. Okay?
I'm not signing nothing.
You don't have to sign it.
He was like a human enigma, wrapped in a riddle, smirking at the fumbling detectives. Their standard playbook of interrogation was about as effective as a chocolate teapot, leaving them grasping at straws while Jeff, cool as a cucumber, watched the circus unfold before him. Now Larry shares some law's insight with us.
Under Georgia law, OCGA August 1641, armed robbery's no joke. But without evidence, it's like trying to make soup without water, utterly flavorless and unfulfilling.
The interrogation room, we find Jeff Pearson, cool as a cucumber, sitting across from two detectives who look like they've just been handed a puzzle with missing pieces. One detective tries to play good cop, offering a sympathetic ear, while the other, Mr. Tough Guy, seems to think he can stare a confession out of Jeff. But Jeff, he's not biting. He sits there, an uncrackable enigma wrapped in a riddle, armed with his silence like a shield. The good cop tries to warm Jeff up with small talk, maybe hoping to catch him off guard. "How's your day going, Jeff? Nice weather we're having, huh?" But Jeff, ever the stone-faced strategist, doesn't take the bait. He knows the golden rule. In the game of legal chess, silence is your queen. Meanwhile, Mr. Tough Guy, growing increasingly red-faced, tries to rattle Jeff with mentions of evidence, veiled threats, and those classic bad cop tactics. "We have evidence, Jeff. Tons of it. Mountains." He exaggerates, his frustration palpable. Jeff, however, remains as responsive as a statue, his face a mask of stoic indifference.
I have enough evidence
Like what?
of the armed robbery, okay? But, if you're saying you didn't do it, you need to give me your side of the story.
I didn't do it.
Okay, well, give me your side of the story. You gotta, convince me. Because I got a lot of evidence. I got a lot of physical evidence.
Well, like what? Name the
Well, I don't need to, why should I tell you that? You haven't been helpful to me at all.
Because I don't believe that you got any evidence.
There's only a couple pieces of evidence I'm missing.
Name them.
Every so often, Jeff tosses in a request for a lawyer, like a well-timed jab in a boxing match, sending the detectives reeling back. "I want a lawyer," he repeats, with the calm assurance of someone ordering a coffee.
But I will tell you right now, you're still on a hold for a robbery.
I know. I don't know why. I need a lawyer because obviously I didn't do nothing. And obviously you guys know I didn't do nothing because I've been arrested for the same bullshit before and you guys don't interview me this much. So, wham bam, thank you for the coke, put me back in the cell.
Each request is like a siren wailing in the detectives' ears, a reminder that they're dancing on the edge of a legal cliff. As hours tick by, the detectives' tactics turn from hopeful to desperate. They're like magicians running out of tricks, pulling invisible rabbits out of hats in a futile attempt to get a reaction. But Jeff, he's like a human brick wall, giving nothing away. The detectives' frustration is almost comical. They look like two kids who've been outsmarted at a game of hide and seek. They try cajoling, they try intimidating, but Jeff, he just sits there, a master of his legal rights, turning the interrogation room into his personal stage of silent protest. So, what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? In this case, the detectives, after huffing and puffing with no house to blow down, had to admit defeat. With evidence as thin as a dieting ghost, they had no choice but to release Jeff. It turns out you can't just arrest someone for being in the wrong place with a bad history and a bad habit. Jeff walked out of that interrogation room not just a free man, but as a legend in his own right. He didn't just dodge a bullet, he danced around it. It's like Jeff got a second lease on life. He kicked heroin to the curb, proving that even the toughest habits can be broken. He then turned to music and YouTube, becoming an unlikely guru of legal advice. Jeff's YouTube channel, his videos are like a mixtape of street-smart legal tips and life lessons, a beacon for anyone lost in the legal maze. As for the robbery case, it's like a mystery novel missing its last page. No other arrests were made, and it seems the true culprit slipped away, leaving more questions than answers. There were no reports of compensation for victims, mostly because the case seemed to vanish into thin air, just like the elusive robber. Jeff's story, meanwhile, serves as a reminder. Sometimes, the real crime is not knowing your rights.